Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 18th meeting of the Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness Commission. It is 7:01, and I am Vice Chair Paul Ellis conducting the meeting this evening. So we'll start with the pledge to the flag. And Evan, I don't think we've had you do that recently. So how about if you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Hold on a second. All right, so please everybody stand. I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So Tony, do you want to go ahead and go with the roll call?
Yes, I'm just going to call out names, and if you can just say here. I have Don Clendenin.
Here.
Paul Ellis.
Here.
Joe Nichols.
Here.
Han Lin, are you on the phone? Han, are you there by chance? I have 3 phone numbers on here. Han, are you here? Okay, I do not have Han online. Jonathan.
I'm here, Tony.
Thank you. Evan.
Here.
Andrew.
Here.
And Mike Berryhill.
I'm here, Tony.
Oh, hi, Han. There you are. I was looking for you.
Hi.
And then I see Mike. Mike, you're Mike, you're muted, but I see you.
There, that better?
There we go.
Keep clicking the wrong button.
All right, there we go. Go ahead. Attendance has been taken.
It's the push to talk.
Okay, so can I have a motion for the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting, please?
Really quickly before we get into that, I'm going to document in the minutes that Commissioner Liu was seated on the commission, because now with one of our commissioners removed, we do have a vacancy on the commission.
Okay. Thank you.
And then go ahead with the approval of the agenda.
Okay, can I have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Tony, you want to take a roll call vote?
Yes,
Or...
I'll go through the screen. John?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Leanne?
Yes.
Nakaplau?
Yes.
Gan?
Yes.
Liu?
Yes.
And Berryhill.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is approved for the agenda.
Okay, and then the next thing would be a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes for the September 16th meeting that we had. Those minutes were sent out with this agenda. So can I have a motion to approve those, or any suggestions for corrections?
Motion.
Thank you, Han.
Second.
And thank you, Joe. Let me go through roll call for ayes or nays. Clendenin?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Leanne?
Yes.
Nakaplau?
Yes.
Gan?
Yes.
Liu?
Yes.
And Berryhill.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved unanimously. Thank you.
Okay. Tony, do we have anybody that has registered to express comments in public forum?
We have one attendee. Is there anybody on the attendees list who is interested in making comments in public forum? No? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and close public forum.
Okay, so we can dispense with the announcement then, which is agenda item number 7, and move on to number 9, business items. And Tony, I believe this is in your wheelhouse to discuss the 2022 work plan.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, did we skip over announcements? Public forum separate from announcements. So I just wanted to make sure, were there any announcements from anyone before we?
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
So let's back up one step here to item number 8. Are there any announcements? Okay, then moving ahead to item number 9 in the 2022 work plan. Tony?
Yes. So we have to, as mentioned, we have to pull together the 2020 work plan, or 2022, excuse me, 2022 work plan going forward for this coming year. In the agenda packet that I sent out, it did have the work plan items that we do work on sort of revised and updated a little bit, in addition to the fact that I put 2 new ones on that I think they're extremely important to the work of this commission and that what we can do out in the community. If you refer to the draft 2022 work plan, we have our, I kind of combined Map Your Neighborhood and our neighborhood specific programs, or NeighborFest, excuse me. NeighborFest are kind of combined, and I just called those neighborhood specific emergency preparedness programs. And this is where we go out to our HOAs and out to our neighborhoods and talk to them about emergency preparedness, the Map Your Neighborhood program, the NeighborFest, and then potentially talk to folks and talk them into maybe joining our CERT program as well. So I'm hoping everyone had a chance to look over that. I'm going to go over each one of these, and then I think what we'll do is do an assignment who are interested in working on what different work items that we have. So the second one we have is to promote emergency preparedness in the faith-based and community-based organizations. We've had this on our commission plan before. I know we've been a little bit held back with COVID restrictions, but I want to keep this going because I think these are great groups of folks to hit, where you can get a lot of folks at one time to do these presentations and then be able to have them work with the folks that are in their groups, spreading the word about emergency preparedness and bringing in the information that they need. The third item I have is the multilingual Listos program. So this is a new one. I've kind of been wanting to take this on myself, and then I realized I have you guys, and this might actually be a great opportunity to bring you guys involved. I don't have to do all of it, but to have the opportunity that I can get folks to be involved in this. And really the plan to tap into this, Listos means ready in Spanish. And the point, or not the point, but the goal of this program really is to get folks to get involved in different communities that may not necessarily engage because they're not primary English speakers, but at least get them ready that they will prepare themselves within their community in their native language that they're comfortable with. So at least they're prepared for themselves to take care of themselves in a disaster. So anyone that speaks multiple language fluently, I would encourage those of you who do that to please step up on this program, because this is where you could be really beneficial to the community, providing a resource to them that we haven't been able to really get out and tap into too much. The fourth item is the Access Functional Needs and the American Disabilities Act Emergency Preparedness. So this would be outreach into the communities that host, that may have access functional needs, disabilities. There's resources at the county level that I've worked with on and off for years, but I'd like us to be more engaged in that and have more regularly scheduled preparedness events, whether it be just presentations or helping register with Alert SCC, but getting out there and really engaging these communities and bringing them in kind of to the fold of this so that we're all able to prepare for a disaster. And these folks that fall into these categories, we make sure that they've been taken care of and get their input, really what they need from us. And then lastly, the final item we have on our draft work plan is to collaborate with public safety on community outreach. So prior, this was very specific to Neighborhood Watch with PD. I made it a little bit more general. I wanted to back it up and call it public safety because there's events that the fire department are a part of that we could join in on and do emergency preparedness education alongside the fire department's work in fire safety. In addition to PD's Boba with a Cop or Coffee with a Cop, the events that the PD goes out and does, in addition to the Neighborhood Watch program that they work in. So I wanted to open number 5, the collaboration with public safety on community outreach. That'll really be open to everybody. I don't want anyone to pick that as their specific item, given that we have so many tasks that we can work on. The collaboration with public safety, I think, is really going to be based on availability. So we'll get a date for an event that's coming up, and I will just shoot the date out to everyone, and whoever's available and like to participate would be able to do so at that point in time. So have you guys had a chance to look over them? Are there things that interest you that you'd really like to be a part of?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we have started to attempt to engage with the Chamber of Commerce. Are we going to continue and carry that forward, or are we going to put that on the back burner?
That's number 2.
Yeah, it'll definitely, yeah, it can, with the community-based, faith-based, it can fall into that category. Okay. I definitely don't want to eliminate it. I just didn't want to categorize it. That was one thing that took up a line, where I think we can kind of generalize that more into the community-based programs.
Okay.
I see Councilmember Dominguez has her hand up.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much. I love this work plan, and I think that, you know, for the last couple of years, we've been talking about the crime prevention aspect, right? So, Tony, I was just wondering if we could maybe put some language in there that's specific to crime prevention, just because I know on the dais there's been those conversations, and I'm like, no, we've actually been doing, that's been part of the work, right? But I think because the words are not exactly used, folks don't understand like what it really means, right? But I think adding the crime prevention, like a crime prevention series, which I know is part of like Bobo with the Cop, things like that, that's all falls under that umbrella. But I would like it reflected in this work, because all of you have been doing this work. And I know we've talked about it in the last 3 years. The other thing that I when I was reading that, that I would kindly ask to add is the, I remember, it feels like last year, but maybe it was 2 years ago, when we started talking about doing the videos. Remember, we talked about doing like crime prevention videos and using the green room at SGPD. But, you know, now PD's doing their own in Milpitas, and they're doing a phenomenal job. So maybe continuing these PSAs, but putting them in the work plan so it could get reflected, and then people know what's going on, right? Because I do want to make sure that was an idea that came out of this group when we were, I think it's 2 years now, because we were meeting in the boardroom. So it's probably about 2 years ago. So I don't want to get that item lost. And I don't know, we could continue that item into this work plan, just so we could measure, right? Like it started, it's measurable. It's a goal that has been attainable, and I think it should be a win, right? Because that is definitely something that I'm hearing people love. The other thing, thank you so much, Vice Chair, for your comments. And I'm thinking is, would it be possible to add a business watch in conjunction to the neighborhood watch? So then that way we are working with the Chamber of Commerce and our businesses to also do some crime prevention. A neighborhood watch is tailored to communities, but we could add a business watch where it's a very similar framework, but it's obviously targeting the businesses, and maybe add that in that line as well, if that would be possible.
That sounds more like the strip mall kind of thing where they can really do that, or like the Great Mall kind of scenarios where you got a business out here in the middle of nowhere. It's a little harder to do, but yeah, again.
Yeah, well, I do that for work, and it's the business is anybody, right? You could have a taco stand, you could have a front window, smaller markets. It's because unfortunately the crime is pivoting from neighborhoods to businesses. So I don't want to leave the businesses behind. And they could really use some of these strategies that is really helping prevent the crime. And so, but I would like to see it reflected in a work plan. And I think this is that group. But I like what you're saying, Commissioner. I hear you. And so I think we could even add more to that.
I think that, because last night I did along with John and the other guy, there was 2 police officers. One was doing the neighborhood watch thing, and the other one was just talking more of crime. And then I come along with the CERT and kind of map your neighborhood kind of things. what we need is some talking points that we can talk to, okay, without an officer there in particular. When we do the ones that are the neighborhood watch, obviously they're going to be there, right? But when we're out on our own of sorts and we're talking with people, we can bring up the crime issues, but have something that's kind of a little bit of a framework that we can talk to within bounds, and we don't get off on the rabbit trails of, well, I got this thing and I got that thing. It's like, I can't solve the problem. You guys have to call it in. And that's the thing we have to impress on them, to call it in. Don't just say, well, someone will call it in.
Yes, but I also believe there's elements of prevention that you could talk, like you said, the business, the points. I love that idea, because I think you're right, Commissioner. There is points that we could frame some talking points, just the same way that the neighborhood watches work. And you could do that with the business, and you could get some support. I mean, I don't mind supporting, if that's something that I need to do. I'm actually trained in that, and I already have a PowerPoint that I could make another PowerPoint and some talking points for folks if that's something that our Milpitas Police Department could support. I think it would be great. And sometimes it's as easy as just having a table, and like you said, having those talking points up there, so when folks ask you those questions, you're able to answer them. But I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Commissioner.
Yeah, because then it takes it off of us of being the officer. We're just conveying what the officers tell us, in essence. Where is the typical crimes happening? They're stealing the catalytic converters now. The smash and grabs have moved from the shopping malls into the neighborhoods and things of that nature. And even in some of these high-rise complexes, because we were talking about it last night, that they got people that kind of either tailgate in, that sort of thing, and they end up inside the parking garage.
Right.
So I'm gonna defer to Captain Torres to reach out regarding those specific requests with PD. I kept it, as you can tell, somewhat general on the public safety one, so it could be all encompassing of whatever it is we wanted to add into that. When I spoke with Chief Hernandez, he was good to do the collaboration with the commission, but I also don't want to tell him to create a new business watch program. So I'm going to defer to Captain Torres for just a moment. All these ideas are definitely possible. We would just need to run them up the chain. So Captain Torres, do you have any insight to any of this?
So good evening, and thank you for letting me take part in the meeting. The sergeant was unavailable, so you guys got me today. Yeah, I appreciate all the good ideas. I mean, it really helps when we have more hands to spread the message, so to speak. And ultimately, the care and safety of the community is a team effort. As far as neighborhood watch, that obviously is primarily run through the PD and through our police community relations unit. And it was something that I was going to touch on, coming up when we go to the division reports. But, they're in the process of starting to reach out to all of our HOAs and established neighborhood watches and other places that have just quality of life issues, to see if they're willing to start up a new neighborhood watch for their particular areas. And that's one of the meetings that some of your group went to last night. I believe it was an unestablished neighborhood watch, and we were trying to get them on board.
Yeah.
As far as the business watch idea, I know that in the past we have reached out to certain businesses that experience more of a crime trend thing, and so that's almost, without having a formal program, I think that's more along the lines of a daily basis too, with whether it be our patrol officers handling that, or whether it's a recurring problem when we have someone from our community relations unit reach out to them. We have done things for, let's say, the banks about fraud and bank robberies. So we have reached out to them in that sense. Our community relations officers are also reaching out to a lot of our religious institutions and talking about any needs and concerns they have, in addition to offering like run, hide, fight for some of the businesses. And we have done those for some of the high-tech businesses out in the McCarthy area. So again, I think it's something that we do right now. It's just not as a formalized program with a, a banner or a logo, let's say. But we're open to suggestions. It's just a matter of, making sure that we look at it and prioritize where our time would be best spent and what help we would need to implement something like that.
Thank you so much.
Torres, can I ask you?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go
Can I
ahead.
ask a question?
Sure.
Do we already have a point of contact with the Chamber of Commerce? Does the police department interact with a specific individual at the Chamber of Commerce?
On occasion, I know that I myself have interacted with them. I know I did a presentation one time, a couple of years back, about the dangers and aspects of social media and how the police department uses social media for community engagement. I believe we've done some presentations for them when they have their meetings. And it's also a resource that sometimes we will tap into if we need to spread the message to, like, some of the businesses. I believe we have sent out, maybe using their email distribution list, some information to some of the businesses about, current crime trends. One of the examples may have been a while back when we were having issues with window smashes and cash registers and things like that taken, just trying to get that message out, in addition to just doing that on our social media too. Hopefully that answers.
Okay, I'm sorry. The only reason I'm asking is because, it could be a two-way street where we just tell them that if they have any topic that they would like to be briefed on, we can, and I'm not speaking for the police department. I'm just saying that if they have a specific topic that they would like somebody to speak on, that they could, reach out to us too, so that we kind of have both bases covered, is what I'm saying, because I know, you guys are so busy right now. But again, if there was something if there was a specific point of contact and there were some trends that were affecting a lot of businesses, if that point of contact could reach out, that might be a way to reverse it, as opposed to putting the onus of responsibility, always back on the police department.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if I have a specific one. I'd have to check with the sergeant who primarily deals with them. I think we just email someone and ask them if they have any concerns, and then we kind of go from there.
Okay.
Councilmember Dominguez has her hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. I think this is, I love the community relations part that I'm seeing come out of PD. But when I look at it in terms of data and measurables of things that have been attained, it's all this amazing work that is happening, but it's not being captured, and it's coming out of reports, which is great. But I do feel that this is a commission where, yeah, let's talk about branding and let's talk about doing a business watch. I do want to see that happen. And I'm coming up on my 4th year here, and I know that was a goal in year 1. And, what I've been told many times on the dais is that it needs to run through the commission. So I would like to see this as a target plan into the next year, where we do create a business watch, and that we are out there supporting the Milpitas Police Department however we can as commissioners in that process. So that is a program that I think we just need to make sure that it's listed somewhere. Even on our website, the only thing I saw was the Neighborhood Watch program, which is great. I think you're right. This is a conversation that I'll continue to advocate where, and maybe it's time to have a civilian role and have a crime prevention civilian role, so they could have the time to do all of this in partnership with this committee. But, I think that's another conversation for funding, and it's that is going to be harder to attain. But I think if we put it as part of the work plan, it'll create that baby step where people could see that it matters, it's making a difference, and that is data that's being captured, and that we are able to move something from that program. And that's the intention behind that.
Well, one kind of thought to that is, if we get kind of their talking points, a little sheet of, 4 or 5 different things that are currently going on, sort of thing. When we go out to talk, when we're talking to, a group, maybe on Map Your Neighborhood or CERT or something like that, it says, hey, any of you have a business or know someone's got a business? Well, here's some, tips. So we kind of throw that out along as we go and doing some of the things. And we're not spending more than maybe a few minutes on something like that, just to kind of give them a heads up. You guys can look out for each other as far as a business goes, and talk to your other businesses around you to say, we need to collaborate to kind of keep ourselves protected, because my business goes, well, then yours is next. It's the same thing. I'd say that when, the disaster hits, who's going to be your first responder? Hopefully it's your next door neighbor.
So I'm sorry, Don, go ahead.
Go ahead. But it's a thing that you be that next door neighbor. You be that next door shop.
So I'm going to suggest that we not try and work the details in this forum, but that maybe we decide on who the owners are. And Tony, I'm kind of assuming that you're either going to ask people to sign up tonight or to think about it and then put their name beside one of those numbers. And then once we figure out what name goes beside names goes beside item number 5, then, Don, all those things that you brought up are great points and things that we need to take into consideration. And those two people can take it forward and work it. So does that make sense?
Well, 5 is for all of us.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Evan's got his hand up, so I'm gonna let him go ahead and go on this. But Paul, yes, you're correct. Tonight, I'm kind of looking for, basically, we need to vote to accept the plan as it is. I can add in Business Watch to maybe item number 1, the neighborhood specific emergency preparedness programs. We can add in the baby step version of this. And if it becomes something greater and PD would like to take this on, I can't dump this on Chief Hernandez. He won't like that.
Yeah.
But we can at least baby step this program, begin it in our house. And if this is something that PD wants to pick up and take, they could do it, and we continue to augment and help them. So I will add it onto that. After this, we're going to go through, and at that point in time, if you guys have stuff you want to volunteer for, please plan and let me know which ones you guys would like to do. But basically, we have to approve the work plan tonight so that it can go to council early next month. So that's the objective at the end of the day of this.
I think even both 1 and 2, because that includes businesses in it too.
Okay. Evan, go ahead, please.
I just want to resonate on Councilmember Dominguez, the topic. On the business watch, would there be a separate resource for the business, or is it going to be the same as a civilian's resource, but not be able to classify which what kind of a incoming request that's going to be? Like if there's something going on, would the business owner call a different set of numbers for help, or any form of a different or additional resource, or is a PD going to provide?
Well, the additional resource would be a business watch sign, I would only think of. The business watch signs are different. If you've seen the neighborhood watch signs, which are the red signs, there is a business watch sign that's yellow. In terms of the civilian role, that is something that needs to go through council. And like Tony said, I definitely don't want to add something without talking to the chief. But he knows this is something I've been pressing since year 1. So I think the way that Tony has set it up to do like that baby step, kind of going back to what the commissioner was talking about, maybe just having some talking points when we're out there so we could talk about it. And then I'm hopeful that PD will take on a business watch where folks could actually get a sign and get something extra as a resource. The information is fairly similar. It only, of course, is a little different because of the business. I also want to share with many of you that there is actually a state board. So there's other departments that they all come together on the state board, and they already have this stuff. So it's just a matter of partnering with other law enforcement agencies to get those presentations, to work with them. And then, like Commissioner said, where it could be a baby step for us. And as I see it in this commission, it could be just a half sheet in the 3 main languages that we all get trained on by PD. on what to say. And it's just tips, right? It's hot tips, and it's tips that really do save a business from being hit. And it's in the same format as a neighborhood watch, that it saves a home from being hit from crime.
So I'm just trying to get the whole picture of how it's going to be different if we're witnessing a crime. As a business owner, they're always there. It's in front of their shop, but it seems like right now there's nothing different they can do as a civilian witnessing this crime happening.
Right.
Well,
so, Commissioner, I want to clarify. It would be prevention. It wouldn't be.
Okay.
It would not be enforcement. No, nobody could do enforcement. Only the police department can. It would be prevention. So let me give you an example. Maybe I could be a little bit more clear. So if you do a business watch, maybe you go out there, you talk to the business. Maybe you talk to them and see. For example, one big thing we see is the signs where it's money only, cash only. Unfortunately, if you're looking for cash, then you're telling people that there's cash there, right? So maybe one of the talking points of this commission could be encourage businesses to not post, signs like cash only in their businesses, right? So they're not targets. So I'm talking more of the prevention, not the enforcement.
Well, it's like the smash and grab. Don't leave anything in your car sitting there, because if it's there, I'm going to get it.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to add on to item number 2. I'm going to remove it from 1. I'm going to put it on 2, adding business watch to the community emergency prep and faith-based organizations. It'll fall within the community outreach. I'm going to put in crime prevention and the PSA stuff. I'm going to allow that to fall into item number 5 so we can work with the chief on that as to what he's comfortable with. Given with those adjustments to this plan, are you guys at a place where you guys are okay to adopt this? I don't necessarily need name assignments unless someone's dying to jump on one particular item. I'm more than happy to put you down on it. I don't have to put names going to council as to who's tackling what. So if you guys are good with it, we can call for a motion.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're probably at a point where these don't have to be super detailed defined at the stage in the game, as long as there are high level definitions of what we intend to do.
Exactly.
If everyone's okay with that, then I'd like to see us go ahead and make a motion to approve this and see if everybody's in agreement and move ahead. So does anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
That was Nichols and Clendenin?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, let me go through roll. Clendenin?
Yeah.
Ellis?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Leanne?
Yes.
Nakaplau?
Yes.
Gan?
Yes.
Lou? Andrew, you there?
You lose somebody?
Is Andrew there? Okay, I'm going to have him abstain on this one. And then Barry Hill.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved. Okay.
Okay, with that, it looks like we're probably ready to move on to the next item on the agenda then. And that is that it is that time of year for elections for 2022. And Tony, I think I need to let you run this piece of it, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to actually defer it a little bit. I was all excited because every year someone reminds me in the middle of the meeting we have elections in January. I always forget. So I was ahead of myself and I was really excited about that. But then I read the bylaws and we can't actually do it to the first meeting of the new year. So that's okay. We're going to carry this on. This is really just a reminder that we will be having elections in January. So please consider if you would like to run for the chair or the vice chair roles. I asked a question I didn't get a response to, but I believe you can nominate yourselves, but we will need to get a second for your nomination at the next meeting, and then we will go ahead and take those folks that get a second, and then we will vote on that route. So heads up, that's just going on, and it'll be deferred to the January 14th meeting.
Okay, excellent. Let's move on to item number 10 then, the city liaison reports. And I think we start out with the city council.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I want to first and foremost thank not only the chair, the vice chair, but every single one of you for your commitment. I cannot believe it's been 3 years that we have been with each other. And I just want to tell you that I am very appreciative of all the work. Thank you so much, Tony. You are a powerhouse, and I've always said that. And what you have done this past year just to move elements forward is really setting a strong foundation for us to do this work. So yeah, no, thank you. I'm incredibly proud of all the wins we've had despite the challenges. In terms of some of the safety policies that are coming through that I would love to put on your radar. We have been talking a lot about donuts, not the ones you eat, but it's the illegal street racing activity. Our police department is on it. We definitely are not seeing some of the issues that other police departments are seeing. So definitely kudos to our officers and our chief for being at the forefront of this. There is an item went into the transportation committee that talked about putting what they call bots. They're like circles on the ground that really slows down traffic. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that, because I know we did talk about that in year one. When I went back to my notes, we talked about traffic calming measures, and those bots are a way of a traffic calming. So if you're interested in that, I highly recommend following the transportation committee, joining public comment. It eventually will come to council for funding, but this one's moving extremely quickly. This one of those items, it moves really quickly. So I'm hoping that it does pass, because then that would fulfill one of the goals that we had back in year one, which is to provide traffic calming measures and prevention measures. The other thing, again, is just, I love seeing the newsletter. If you haven't, oh my God, the pet parade was a hit, and I haven't had a chance to rave about it, but if you have not seen any pictures of the Halloween pet parade that happened, that was awesome. That was exactly what we've been talking about. And so thank you to the staff for thinking outside the box and really leading that. And so other than that, those are like some of the safety policy updates that I could think of that we are working on the council. Definitely, I did push a recommendation that came in year two, which was to do what they call the walk and roll program, which is to work with our departments on building strategies that are going to help our students create pathways to and from school that are safer, hoping decreasing the safety, the safety speeding the speeding that's happening. So increasing the safety for our pedestrians. So that was, it actually was supported by the mayor. And so I hope to see a campaign come out at some point, but that was an idea that one of the commissioners brought forward year two. So as of now, I have been able to introduce all of the ideas that have came through this commission from year one to year three, which super proud of. We have passed many of them, including building a community, our CSO program, community service officers program, and that it was huge. And so that came year one. So yeah, we're super excited to see what happens in year four. If you have any ideas in terms of policy, just like before, this is the time. So definitely between now and January, please reach out to me, call me, email me, let's catch lunch if you have any policy ideas. That way we could work on them together, and then hopefully I could introduce some early next year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay.
So actually, Paul, I have a question for Council Member Dominguez. So
go ahead.
The traffic calming measure you were talking about, have you guys looked at any specific areas within the city, or is it just kind of the start point, kind of general thing right now, or how's that working out?
That's a great question. So in the beginning of last year, myself and I believe it was Vice Mayor Montano asked for a citywide traffic calming study. traffic study in order to develop traffic strategies. So that study is happening, and we have had some in the past. So I could only assume that the Transportation Committee is going to look at that study and then move forward with the data to drive where we put these bots at. So first, it needs to pass the Transportation Committee and come back to council for approval budget, because it is going to have a cost. But my hope is that we go back to that data that we pay, consultants so much money for, and who did those studies to help steer that direction, that decision in that direction.
If you get out and you kind of walk a bit, or you just watch on the streets, you'll see the donuts.
Yes, you can see the striping.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's obvious. I get even some in my neighborhood. It's kind of like, and by the time you get out there to even take a picture or something like
They're
that,
gone.
they're gone.
You're right, Commissioner. And for me, it's like I think year one we talked about is just that pedestrian safety. The donut situation, yes, it's happening in our communities, and it's out of control what happens after, right? And so I'm really excited to see some measures come in, and I applaud Councilmember Evelyn Chua, who brought it back as well, because I think it's important. So I hope that answered your question, Commissioner.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I think we're ready to move on to the school district report. And I think Han is still with us.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I have a short report. I just want to let everyone know that Randall Elementary School on Saturday will have vaccines for 5 to 11 years old and boosters for those who qualify. At 12:30 today, we had a campaign kickoff to try to raise funds. We are now working on the Innovation Campus, and we're about $18 million short. And we met with business owners who came in. It was a very, very positive meeting. They would like to partner, but let's see what we can pull. That's all I have for school district.
Okay, awesome. $18 million sounds like a great start.
Yes.
more
and we're
than a great start.
We're looking at 2024 completion.
Okay, any questions for Han? Okay, Tony, this is kind of back to you on the office. Are we going to start calling officially Office of Emergency Management now? So
yes, we are actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are officially transitioning.
We still keep calling it OES. I do the same thing. Anyway,
it's okay. In fact, I just noticed my title in here is OES still.
Over to you for OES.
Yeah, I'm going to declare like a year of layover. I don't know what the word is. Transition, a year of transition, because I still need to get all of my old pub ed stuff that has the S on there moved out before I order the new stuff, because I'm not going to waste it. So we're going to spend a year in hybrid there. So it's totally fine.
Well, how about the M's on our shirts?
There's a lot of stuff that needs to be replaced. I know. So again, it's going to be a year, maybe 2 or 3 of transition. But yes, officially we're OEM now, Office of Emergency Management, which is actually a bit more reflective of what the true business is behind my office. Anyway, moving on. I don't have much for the CERT update. We have not re-engaged the CERT program just yet. All of our current members are still doing online training as available. It's really until we're able to safely open the fire station back up to the public that we can bring people back on site to train as well. So we can do the CERT program. It's just you're subject to just the book training, which while it's valuable, yes, I think there's a lot more fun to be had and a lot more understanding that comes out of going hands-on in that program. So I try to make it as interactive as I can when we actually teach the class. So it's still on hold. I was hoping to bring it back this fall, but then Delta surged. And anyway, so my moving target is now floated out sort of to springtime. And I'm hoping we get our classes back on board by springtime, but I might be just being optimistic. Otherwise, I have nothing further for CERT. And then unless someone has questions, any questions?
Actually, I don't have a question, but I have a comment for you. I attended, as did Han, and a number of other commissioners attended that graduation exercise last night. And I was really pleased with the interest level in CERT. I mean,
good.
Yeah, so several people, we kind of had this round robin where they went around to different groups and got to ask questions. And several people wanted to discuss it so much that we had to say, okay, look, let's not monopolize the conversation here. But, when we finally break for, coffee and goodies, why don't we look one another up? And so that was encouraging anyway.
That's awesome. I feel like Brittany coming back to her stage show in Vegas. Everyone's waiting for me. Free OEM.
Last night I had.
In fact, we have one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, last night we had several people have an interest in getting the CERT training.
Great. That's very, very exciting. I'm really glad to hear that. It's been kind of a discouraging year for myself, but I'm really glad to hear that. I will be back to my home show in Vegas. I'll bring it all back. Juan, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was trying to say that we have the graduate from last night who was interested in attending the meeting today. So we shared the link.
Oh, good.
And so Swati is on the phone, I think.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, at this point, when people call me and ask about it, my plan is I go back and I advertise back out on Nextdoor, which hits everybody that is signed up for Nextdoor. And I believe it also hits everybody that's gone through Nixle as well. And then I'll push it out through the city PIO's office as well. So if someone's not necessarily following on Nextdoor, they might be able to get the information from the city PIO when we start staging it back up again. But yeah, again, moving target, hoping for spring, fingers crossed. This is where we're finally going to stick it and be back there. So yeah, nothing further for CERT. And then I've added on to the agenda that we're just going to have a regular Races update. So I'm going to allow Paul to go ahead and share his screen right now. He was going to do a quick little presentation on the Races update.
Okay, thanks, Tony. So I will make this quick. If for no other reason than about half the people that are on the call are already members of Races or somehow engaged. But I did want to do a level set on what Milpitas Aris Races does, sort of what we look like and that sort of thing for the group, so that as we move forward in future meetings, that I can just give you some stats and some numbers and that sort of thing, and hopefully they'll make sense. So it's going to be kind of alphabet soup here for about 30 seconds. You're going to see a couple of acronyms. One is called Eris, the Amateur Radio Emergency Services, and the other one is called Races, which is Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Services, if that's not enough to make a mouthful. So we typically refer to them as Aris Races, and then within Milpitas, we call it Marys, which is Milpitas Aris Races. And I don't seem to be having any luck in getting the slide to advance here. There we go. So just very quickly, I want to talk about the organization, talk very briefly about Marys, what kind of training we do, what activation means, and our roles in the EOC. So without going into a lot of minutia, essentially the easiest way to think of the difference between Aris and Races is that when we're doing things that are of public service nature, we're operating as Aris. So that would be things like 4th of July fireworks, parades, bicycle races, things like that, where we're helping with crowd control and reporting checkpoints and things like that. In the event that there is a disaster declared, then even though it's the same people, it's the same equipment, it's the same organization, we kind of spin our hats around and we become Races. So whenever we're interacting with a government agency and we've been basically dispatched by a government agency, then we're operating as Races. But the roles are very similar. Within Milpitas, the leadership consists of, there's an emergency coordinator / chief radio officer, that's me. There are 2 assistant emergency coordinators, Mike, who handles basically our frequency coordination and is on the repeater license as a custodian for the repeater, and then Neil, who handles any local training and drills that we do. Other key contributors include George, who I think most people know. Without him, the infrastructure would be crumbling. So he does a great job of keeping us as well as other elements of the city in good shape in terms of communications infrastructure. And then Don, who serves as the net manager, and his role is to coordinate our Tuesday nets, and I'll mention that again in just a second. The membership roster, I've whittled down to about 20 people. There's actually more names on it, but to be considered a member in good standing, you have to do a certain number of things every year. Now, for the last 2 years, we've kind of grandfathered people forward because we haven't been able to get together, and an awful lot of the stuff that we do is in person. In 2022, as that burden of having to meet remotely and do things remotely is lifted, then we'll probably do some more trimming on the membership roster. It's kind of a shame because we've had a lot of people, or a number of members, who were really active at one point in time and then just kind of fell by the wayside. And then this year we lost 3 members who actually, 2 of whom moved out of state, 1 of whom moved out of area. Having said all that, of the 20, about a little more than half. So I'm not, I'm kind of okay with this. I'd like to see it be bigger, but what I'd really like to see is that 20 number be bigger, and then the 12 grow as a result of that. So 12 people who are pretty active on a day-to-day basis. So I thought I'd spend about the next 30 or 40 minutes talking about ICS, and I hope everybody smiles when I said that. I see Tony laughing. Thank you. So just as a note, because we do operate within the ICS framework, that everybody's required to take ICS 100, 200, and 700. We recommend that they take 800 as well. And you'll see again in just a minute the reason for that. Some of us have gone above and beyond that. But to the fire and law enforcement folks that are on the call, I'm sure you'll appreciate the fact that we at least have some appreciation for the framework that we have to use. In addition to that, training is done at a county level every month. There's a class the first Saturday of every month, unless it's a holiday, and then it's the next week. And that's in a specific discipline, lasts about 3 hours. Every month we have about an hour of on-air message passing practice at the county level, where people get to practice pro words and delivering the various forms and messages that we use. And then we have quarterly drills. At the city level, we have a net every week that Don coordinates to make sure that we have a net control operator, and the responsibility for that rotates among those 12 people that show up. We have a quarterly meeting, which also includes a training component where we focus on knowledge transfer in a specific area. And then we try and do a quarterly exercise, kind of like a drill, but sometimes we make them learning experiences, but fun learning experiences. There is a credentials program in place. This is a pretty busy chart. Essentially, what we do is we break the various disciplines down that are required to be a good operator into the headings that you can see there. I won't read all of them to you, from field over through HF. And then along the right-hand side, you start at the bottom as a type 4. And as you improve your skill level and expertise in whichever field we're talking about, then you progress from a 5 to a 4 to a 3 and so forth. And when you're a type 1, that means that you can do anything. The reason that this could be more important as we move forward is that a lot of counties and sections are starting to look at credentialing and typing a lot more closely. So we're anticipating that at some point in time that this framework will fall into the typing that's likely to be done under ICS for us. So from an activation standpoint, I can activate us anytime if it's an Aris event or any one of the ECs if I'm not around. RACES can only be activated by a civil authority. I should probably say authorized, not confident. We'd like to think that everybody is competent. But essentially that means that when we're activated as RACES, that has to be done by somebody like the fire chief or the police watch command, the OES emergency management coordinator, or somebody in authority at the city level, because the activation also comes into play with putting us as operating as RACES and disaster service worker, DSW coverage comes into play then. So when we're activated as RACES, then in the ICS structure, communications falls under logistics in the ICS structure. Yeah, somebody got a question? Comment? Or was that be quiet? I'm going too long. Okay. Last but not least, we have equipment capabilities at the primary EOC, at the Milpitas Police Department, at the alternate EOC at Fire Station 1, and we have mobile capabilities, kind of, sort of. We had a white van that was that we used for mobile operations. That has been decommissioned, and we're in the process of trying to transition over to the red van, get all our gear moved over there, so that if we have to operate from a mobile location, like we do for 4th of July as an example, then we'll have that unit to operate from. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the system, do you include a GMRS call signs system?
No, the CERT teams have some GMRS radios.
No, they're FRS.
The challenge with those radios is range, and some of them operate both GMS, and FRS. And FRS, you actually have to have a license.
No, it's the other way around.
GMRS is licensed, FRS is license free.
Yeah, sorry, I'm got them reversed. So
GMRS have call signs too, right?
Correct. If you have a license, you have a call sign.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I happen to have one.
Okay, so there's different systems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they overlap in frequencies, and what limits it is the FRS has the lower power levels. Okay, GRMS has the higher power levels, except for one section of the band. There's like 7 channels, I think, that's strictly low power, and I think it's because of interference.
Yeah, any of the communications that we would use, so we would use those radios perhaps for communications from cache teams when they're in the field to the cache itself. But any of the communications that would occur at a RACES level would occur using ham radio.
That's where you'd have a ham radio operator at the cache to communicate the neighborhood situation to the EOC.
Does that answer your question, Evan, and satisfactorily confuse you? Yeah, you're probably clear. I'm just confused.
Okay. Okay. So everything that I just talked about is amateur radio, where you have to be licensed to use it, and to get that license, you have to take a test, and you have to understand some laws and some theory and things like that. For the FRS stuff, all you have to do is pay your $10 and you get a license.
That's more than that. The GRMS, you have to. GMRS is what, $75 for 10 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Licensing for FRS. Oh.
Right.
Well, there's no licensing for FRS. FRS is free for families.
Okay. So Evan, if you're still confused, feel free to call either Don, Mike, Joe, myself, and we'll see if we can unconfuse you and not take up any more time in the meeting. Okay. Okay. With that, then I am done, and I think we turn it over to fire now.
Hi there, everybody. Not a lot from the fire side. Just
You got a fire behind you.
that's the creek fire from last year. So, Chief Frawley, Deputy Chief of Operations for the Fire Department, announced his retirement effective the end of the year. And we have not determined a replacement for him at this time, but I'll let everybody know when I can. And then the other thing is we did make 8 offers to possible recruits for an academy scheduled to start on February the 14th. And they're in the process of going through their background investigations right now. And then after that, they'll move on to their psych and medical evaluations, but we don't anticipate any significant problems with any of them. I think we have 8 really good candidates. And that's about all I have for fire.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Paul, can I ask a quick question on that?
Yeah, go ahead, please, Mike.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to check and see if there's how the status of the rebuilding of Station 2 is going. Is that going on schedule? Just if there's anything any updates on that?
Yeah, my understanding is it is still on schedule. I haven't been really involved with the details, but if you drive by, you can see, and I encourage everybody to drive by. You can see they've made significant progress. So the building is almost, I believe, completely enclosed. Roof's on, all the walls are up, windows are in. That they're doing well, and I believe it's on schedule.
Yeah, I go past there about once a week.
Okay, any other questions for Chief Malone? Okay, then let's go ahead and move on to the law report. Anybody there?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry about
that. That's okay.
Again, thanks, and hopefully I don't sound redundant mentioning some of the stuff we talked about earlier, but October was a busy month for us. We were all over the place with community engagement events. I mean, if I'm looking at my list right now, we did probably about 7 different things, ranging from the intra-city senior resource fair. We held 2 catalytic converter etching events, which were very successful. The first one, we had a limited number of spaces, and we were able to double that number of spaces in the second one. We're currently looking at trying to host another one of those in the near future, and we're reaching out to different businesses to see if they want to partner with us. We were out about 4 different schools doing pumpkin patch events, Halloween trunk, or it's a typo, trick or treat events. And then, yeah, and also then our Halloween event where we launched, did kind of a soft launch for our new neighborhood watch program, which was Paws on Patrol, which is something that we'll be promoting a little bit more in the next upcoming months. I think we're going to have a seat at the table at the event in December, and so that'll be, as a matter of fact, we may be at the pet parade that's happening there. So we'll be able to talk about that and have some information for the people there. We didn't stop coming into November. I mean, we're already up to probably about 6 different events that we've done, and still have many more to do. We're getting back into the swing of neighborhood watch now that things are being done in person. So as we make contact with those neighborhoods that are established and ones that may want to be established, when we address other quality of life issues, or just they have questions for us and we can do it in a group setting, then we'll be more than happy to invite all y'all to come over and have a few moments with them as well. One of the things that sounds very promising is, again, we kind of roll some of these events out as test grounds. We were over at Randall School at the beginning of this month where we did Recess with a Cop. So that went off really well with quite a few people from our traffic safety unit, our patrol division, and our police community relations unit. And so hopefully that'll pick up as we move on in the school year. And other than that, I mean, obviously we enjoy getting out with the community. It gives us a chance to talk about whatever they want to talk about. And I can't say enough, and I'll publicly say it, is that I appreciate all the work that the staff has done for this. I mean, the community relations unit puts in a lot of long hours setting things up, coordinating things with with the community members in the different groups. And not only them, but the people we have people that are adjusting their schedules and working different hours so that they can come out and contribute to it. So a lot of the times you're seeing different faces at the different events. It's not the same people. And I think that's really a testament to the devotion that our staff has to the community and their willingness to go out there and just engage with them and talk about them about whatever they want to and see what their needs are and concerns are. And that's probably more than you needed from me, but that's all I have for tonight.
No, actually, that's very encouraging. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot going on, and the fact that you do have different faces showing up, means everybody's willing to pitch in and do their part, and that's always refreshing. Okay, I think we are at the end of the meeting. I think we've covered everything. If there's nothing else that anybody needs to bring up, I'd like to suggest, yes, Joe, go ahead.
So I just kind of wanted to put this out there. So CAL FIRE, I just became what they call a volunteer in prevention. So for those of you who are not too familiar with the VIP program through CAL FIRE, for the Santa Clara unit, we do a lot of outreach for CAL FIRE. We haven't really done that much this year because of COVID, but we are looking for more volunteers, guys. So if that's something you're interested in, one of the things we also do is, I don't know how many of you are aware, but above Lick Observatory up on Copernicus Peak, there is a fire lookout tower. That's part of what the VIPs do. We staff that tower throughout the week. I go up there at least once a week. So if anyone is interested in maybe kind of tying in with that, let me know. I'll put you in touch with Pam Timmerman. She's kind of she's the fire prevention specialist who's in charge of the VIP program. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. If anyone's interested, let me know. I can put you in touch with her and we can go from there, because I know right now we're losing several VIPs who are going to be leaving the area. So they're always looking for new members for that.
Okay, hey Joe, that's great, and if you can send something out so people can explore that if they choose to, that's wonderful. I might caution you in the future about poaching on Tony's territory in Tony's meeting, but other than that, no, that's great. Why don't you go ahead and send stuff out to people so they know?
I will do.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, with that then, it is now 8:08. We went a little bit over. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, in that case, we are adjourned until January. And I would remind you that if you have an interest in tossing your name in the hat for chair or vice chair positions, to let Tony know. Or if you want to throw somebody else in front of the bus, let Tony know.
In front or under?
Okay, thanks everybody. Good night. Have a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Bye,
everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
All right.
Bye.